Etsy shares moving to the upside here and extended, trading up just about 7% after the company beat on both the top and bottom lines in its first quarter earnings. Taking a look at the sales number, that was up 11% on a year-over-year basis. Let's talk about it with Marvin Fong, BTIG Director. Marvin, it's great to see you here. So certainly the street encouraged by this release. What do you think of it?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It just crossed the table a little bit, but a little while ago, but so far so good. They did hit the top line targets at the top end of guidance really across the board for GMS, sales, and adjusted EBITDA. I think if you actually look at some of the things they said, the commentary was also positive. They said that some of the volatility that they saw in February kind of stabilized in the March. So that was a good point. They also said that the active buyer count actually grew quarter over quarter. I think most analysts on the street actually had that coming down quarter over quarter. So that was another positive point. And then the guidance, kind of bracketed expectations, maybe a little bit lower at the midpoint. But I think considering the sell-off across the internet space, along with just the general concerns out there, it was really probably better than feared. So all those things together, I think, of contributing to the nice move in the stock after hours.
Marvin, what does this say about the state of the consumer to you?
The consumer, we track lots of different broader measures, and it's clear that the consumer is doing a lot of things that people have already been talking about. They bought a lot of goods during the pandemic, and now they're diverting their spending towards more experiences, to more traveling. We see that in some of the statistics with airlines, with hotel accommodations, really the only sectors that saw some growth in the month of March. Relative to incomes. So, that's a well-documented trend that's going on. For Etsy in particular, it's a pretty small purchase. The average order size is somewhere between $40, $50. It's typically for an event or a special occasion frequently. So these are things that people want, are going to prioritize their spending on. It's not like just, an impulse buy at the checkout stand. These are purchases that typically people want to do. They have a meaning, they have sentimentality. So that's kind of contributing to the stickiness. So overall, the consumer, we see the pressure, but, obviously, companies that are kind of well positioned can kind of, swim upstream, kind of be a little more resilient. And we think Etsy is one of those companies as demonstrated by this quarter and the guidance.
Marvin, how much of the slowdown for the consumer, potential slowdown that we could see, is already priced into the stock? Because shares are off 17% since the start of the year. And yes, even if we do see macro headwinds here intensify just a bit, has that already been priced in?
I mean, we think so. A question that we get a lot, because it actually kind of came up in some of, the commentary in the last quarter when management discussed how 2023 might evolve. They raised the possibility that, even though the comps get easier in the back half of the year, you might not see revenue or GMS growth. So they were just kind of calling out that, hey, things are uncertain. If we get a really tough recession, we might not see that growth. And then you kind of just like look at, how you might want to value Etsy, even with a higher interest rate regime. We kind of think that, the multiple of free cash flow and earnings that it's kind of trading at almost discounts, fully that the stock will not see, or the company won't see any growth this year. So, by that measure, we do think that investors are greatly discounted a pretty rough year. Having said that, Etsy is seeing challenges. They're not guiding to the full year, which they historically have done because visibility is so low. But they are guiding to the second quarter, obviously. And we did see the year-over-year decline in the core Etsy.com marketplace. That slowed from the rate of decline slowed in the first quarter compared to the fourth quarter. So the trend, in that regard, is positive. So, to be continued in terms of your question, but we do believe that investors have gone a long way towards discounting a pretty tough environment in terms of consumer spending.
Marvin, you have a buy rating on the stock. Your price target is $130 a share. It's certainly popping in after hours, but there's some distance from where it is now to your target. Maintaining that target?
We're going to have to listen to the call, listen to what management says, dissect the numbers a little bit more, but at this point, when Etsy reported its fourth quarter earnings just 2 months ago, the stock was at $130, $135. So the stock can move a lot in a very short period of time. These are volatile markets. These, e-commerce is a volatile sector. So I wouldn't, the fact that our price target is a fair amount above where it's trading at even after hours, it doesn't mean that it can't be done. We consider it one of the higher quality companies in e-commerce. The management team is extremely strong. It's got great brand recognition. So we do think that it will be, definitely has been a winner during, because of COVID, because of the pandemic, it's retained a lot of those gains that it made, which not every e-commerce company can say that. So we think it's a very strong platform. As far as the specific price target, again, we'll be revisiting that. But I do believe when you consider what we just talked about, how much investors have discounted by punishing the stock, like you said, down 17% year to date, there's probably more upside than downside at this point.
All right. Well, the stock certainly being rewarded in after hours. Marvin Fong, our thanks to you today.